lawyers and advocates. And we're here today because there are two things. We released today this report called the Anderson Report. And actually what it is an identification of all the clerics who have been publicly accused across the state of New Jersey. Clerics that have been publicly accused across the state of New Jersey. And in it, we've also included the history, the assignment history of each of those clerics that have been publicly accused, because we believe it's something that needs to be done and to be more fully revealed than it has been. Thus, this report is now posted on our website and identifies the history of each of those that have been, as I said, publicly accused. We also, today, and the lawyers representing Ed Hanratty has also filed this action today in Newark. And this lawsuit is Edward Hanratty versus the New Jersey Catholic Conference of Bishops and each of the bishops in New Jersey and the diocese. And Ed Hanratty has brought this action because he wants them to be completely transparent, and even more so than they have. And this lawsuit is actually called a nuisance action. That is, it seeks a court order that discloses more fully all of the secrets known and the histories held and the histories known and held by all the Catholic bishops in New Jersey that have not been revealed. And why has he done that? Because the Catholic bishops can't get right until the history is told right and told more fully and transparently. And so, Ed Hanratty, please step forward, identify yourself, and then I'd like you to tell us a little bit about why you chose to bring this action here today.
Sure thing. Thanks, Jeff. As Jeff said, my name is Ed Hanratty. Honored to be part of this suit because I think it's the single most important piece to this puzzle of this crisis that many of us have been living with for decades and beyond. There's been great strides over the past couple of years. Survivors are being believed. Their motives no longer questioned. But we're still not anywhere close to the entire scope of what this tragedy really entails. And the reason I know that is I actually know it for a fact. I came forward last August inspired by what seemed like an autobiography when I read the accounts of the Pennsylvania survivors and their bravery in the Pennsylvania AG report. So I published my story, and instantly my inbox was flooded with names I hadn't heard of in 30 years, haven't thought about in decades. And they said everything from, I had my suspicions, I support you, to it happened to me. I understand exactly the way you described it is exactly what I lived with. I still have those nightmares. Parents whose children are no longer here to tell the story. They reached out with encouragement, and there was a concerted effort by some women, mothers now, that I grew up with, to help remove the man that I named, and he's somewhere on this board here, Reverend Gerald Sudol. He was still in practice. So they got together, did their things, and then what we learned were the circumstances behind the dismissal of Reverend Sudol. And it wasn't what we were told in the parish. And I've wondered, they knew the church knew, the parish knew the circumstances of why he left. Why weren't my parents and all the other parents and grandparents of the parish informed at the time? You know, if I was abducted by a stranger, I would have gotten grief counseling, but, you know, we were just taught to trust people that we were supposed to trust. And there's no handbook for what to do when that trust is violated. And I think of the people who would still be here, if there was transparency back then, I think how different my life would be. I think about the life of my beautiful wife who's here now, who grew up in this parish, all the other girls who had to live with the ramification of a generation of boys exposed to this. We can't move on until we know why. So I'm grateful to Jeff. I'm grateful to Greg, who reached out to me back in August to Sherpa me through all of this. And I hope that today is the first day of the final chapter in getting to the bottom of this tragedy. So survivors, their relatives, their surviving relatives can finally put this to rest. Thank you very much.
Ed, when you came forward and revealed after the Pennsylvania grand jury report kind of opened your eyes and emboldened you to come forward, you were told some information about the offender, but were you told the full truth at that time about what was known?
No, I still don't know the full truth
And
of
so,
what was known at all.
and so as you seek, as you bring this case today, this nuisance action against all the Catholic bishops in New Jersey, what is it that you want the court to ask them to do or to require them to do that they haven't completely done?
Open it all up, full story, full accounting. What did you know? When did you know it? Why were they placed certain places? If you read both the Anderson report and the original Archdiocese report, you see 4 offenders from Richfield Park, my community. Were we just very unlucky to have 4 credible accusers? Some of whom were actually named in settlements, or was there a reason? Were we did we have a reputation for being willing and subservient? Why? These are the things that we deserve to know. It's that simple. We deserve to know.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Jeff.
Pat Wall, would you step forward? And Ed, I want you to stand next to Pat here and identify yourself and what brings you to this moment in time with us and why you think this is important today.
Yes, my name is Patrick Wall. I'm a former priest, Roman Catholic priest and Benedictine monk. This is about history. This is about so that the child survivors, their parents, and all of their siblings who have had to endure a lot of pain over all these decades, so they know the full story. They know exactly what years the different clerics were there. This particular cleric, Aramito, is the perpetrator for a good priest friend of mine. If you look at that assignment history, you can make your own assessment of what the diocese knew and what was happening. You look at this corporately, and I thank the dozens of folks who worked on this and had burning eyeballs to put this report together in the New York office and the St. Paul office and the Minneapolis office, to be able to put this together to have a one source so that you can see what they knew. You can see what they knew at what particular years, and you can see the density of the number of publicly accused perpetrators in different places. In contrast, you can also see the absence of data. Why certain parishes, why certain schools didn't have any perpetrators. Why one particular high school in Trenton has 3 perpetrators at one particular time. These are conscious actions that the bishops have taken over time. Remember also, this is the first time you're going to see, not only do we have bishops, religious, priests, other nuns, and lay people as well that are perpetrators. This is only part of the story. This is what helps them heal. If you really want to bring about healing, they need to know what the story really was.
Thank you, Patrick Wall. Just for clarification, what we can do and did do in this report is publish the assignment histories of all those who had been publicly accused, because we felt and feel that the histories known and where they worked and served can be helpful in discerning where the perils have been and where the perils may still be. And for that reason, the histories are included in this, as well as those who have been identified as publicly accused. We cannot know, and there's no way for us to know, and it is our belief that the Catholic bishops do know more than have been disclosed. And thus, the lawsuit brought by Ed Hanratty is designed to encourage and to call upon the Catholic bishops to make more disclosures than they have been concerning perils that have existed in the past and could be in the present. Having said that, Bertie Farrell, please come forward, identify yourself, and tell us what this means to you.
Hi, my name is Bridie Farrell. I also am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. My abuse took place within sports, within the Olympic movement. We're seeing time and time again throughout institutions where the institution knew about abusers and did nothing. And for example, here we are with the Catholic Church, who has had the data to supply to parishioners and community members, but the church has failed to do that. And so what it takes is a brave, brave person to come forward, to stand up here and tell their worst nightmare so that other kids can be safe. When I came forward in speed skating, I knew I had no legal recourse, and I came forward for one purpose, and that was to make my little community of speed skating safer, and that's what each and every individual survivor is doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridie. Greg, you've been practicing and representing survivors here in New Jersey for some time. Tell us what it is. We need to know.
Well, my name is Greg Gianfrancaro, and I've been an attorney in the state for 31 years. I was born in the state of New Jersey. I was raised in the state of New Jersey. I was baptized and confirmed within the Patterson Diocese. I was an altar boy. This Father James Hanley is the priest that I grew up with. He was my priest. Now, I was lucky, and he was on the list that was disclosed by the church in February, this past February. But that list did not include, among others, individuals from religious orders. I've been involved and grew up only 10 miles away from the Del Barton School. There are where they are religious order priests and clerics, and who were abused by so many. And I think, thank you, Ed, because one of the things that Ed's asking for is a disclosure of information, a disclosure not just of the priests, but of the religious order clerics. And I think that that is so important, especially in light of the fact that the Attorney General's office is doing an investigation within the Catholic Church in New Jersey. And I think that that's important. And I want to thank Ed. I want to thank everybody here, and you too, Jeff, because I think what we're doing here is so important. Thank you.
Mark Crawford, why don't you Greg stay there?
Mark Crawford, I too am a survivor and advocate for victims of abuse. I was abused by Father Kenneth Martin, a priest, my parish where I grew up. After informing the local bishop of my abuse, he was then promoted and served as Archbishop McCarrick's personal secretary. So again, I am well aware that what we've been told is not the whole truth. For years, we've been calling for the whole truth to be told. And clearly, what's right here behind us shows that our bishops have not been open, honest, and transparent. And it's time. It's time. It needs to be done. We need to protect our families, the community, and all the children here, not just some. So thank you.
Raina Kessler, one of the lawyers, along with Greg, that have filed this action on behalf of Ed. What is it you seek, and what is the purpose behind this claim that is being brought called nuisance here in New Jersey against the Catholic bishops?
My name is Raina Kessler. I'm with the law firm Robbins Kaplan. I live here in New Jersey, and I'm a New Jersey attorney. And first, I just want to express my gratitude to survivors like Ed, Bridie, and Mark that are up here disclosing this information, sharing this information, something that the church should have done a long time ago, especially in New Jersey. And the information that the church has here in New Jersey is information that all the citizens of New Jersey are entitled to. And because of what's happened to Ed, he has the ability and the strength and the courage to be able to bring a cause of action under New Jersey law for a public nuisance. And the main reason for bringing this claim is to finally, after decades, to disclose this information. And to make that perfectly clear in the complaint, there's a request for documents. And these documents are a large part of what this lawsuit seeks and the information that survivors like Ed and Mark deserve, and that the public and citizens of New Jersey deserve.
Thank you, Raina. Mike Reck, one final word. You've been practicing in the area of New York for a long time with our firm. And what do you all want to add about what we're doing here today?
Thanks, Jeff. And Ed, thank you. Thank you. If it wasn't for brave survivors like Ed doing this, we wouldn't be able to make these disclosures and to force the child protection movement forward. And that's something that's noteworthy, is that this is happening now. Why is this, the Anderson report, happening now? Why is there information coming out? Granted, none of the 5 dioceses in the state of New Jersey have made a full, a complete, and a candid disclosure about what they knew and when they knew it. But there is some information that comes from them. And that information has been compiled from public sources into the Anderson report. And that information is becoming available now, not because these institutions are doing the right thing. This institution has shown time and time again that it doesn't do the right thing because it's the right thing. It does the right thing because it is forced to do the right thing. And the disclosures that have been compiled in this report were made because these 5 dioceses and these 5 bishops were under duress. They were under duress because survivors are pressing them, because law enforcement is pressing them, because the Attorney General is investigating them, and because advocates are seeking changes in the law and are seeking justice and accountability in the court. And that's why the time is now for this information to be available, not just to survivors, not just to advocates, but to the public in general, because that truly is a burning and vital public need.
All right, we'll take questions. Ed, come on up here. And thank you, Ed, to you as a survivor for both sharing your truth, taking this action, and to all the survivors who stand up and speak out. Go ahead and Greg, stand up there. Let's take questions.
My question is just, maybe Jeff, if you could explain, can you just explain why there is a difference between 188 names released and 311? What information, how are they publicly accused that you ascertain these extra 100 and some names should be out there?
Yeah, the question is how is it that we have today disclosed the histories of 311 and the identities of 311 publicly accused clerics, and why that contrast numerically so much from what the Catholic bishops have disclosed so far, which would be identified as 188. So the question is why is there a difference between the 311 that we've included in this report as publicly accused versus the number of 188 that the Catholic bishops in New Jersey has identified as credibly accused. First, we took public data because we don't have their private data. Second, we've included in this report any religious order priest, or member of any religious order, such as the Franciscans, the Jesuits, or any religious order priest that has been accused of childhood sexual abuse and has worked in any one of the dioceses in this report. And those religious order priests' names have never been publicly revealed by any of the Catholic bishops, even though they allowed them to work in each of the dioceses at various times. So that accounts for a large discrepancy. The second thing we believe is that the disclosures that have been made could be more complete. And we're urging them to be more complete than they have been. But because we don't know what they know, we also in this suit are seeking a more complete disclosures of those histories so the public can know. And this calls for a more complete disclosure, not just of the identities, but the actual histories known to them included, as Raina said, in the documents. And a more complete disclosure is sought. Thus, there's a discrepancy, and thus there's more to be known and revealed publicly.
So did you get those needs then from civil cases that may have been filed? Were they criminal cases after they left work in the diocese? Where does the information actually come from?
The report and the information included in it comes from public sources, which includes bishop accountability, which includes all filings made, which includes news accounts of criminal cases brought and lawsuits brought. So it's all public data already made available to the public, but compiled and surveyed by us. And then when we see who has been accused publicly of childhood sexual abuse, who has worked in New Jersey, in a cleric, then we go to the official Catholic directory and pull out of that their assignment histories, which are included in this report.
I want to make one thing crystal clear, and that's that this team is not anti-Catholic, but anti-crime. And the idea of holding people accountable that work with children is a basic principle that we hold in so many aspects of our society, and we're just doing the same thing. The more survivors that come forward and share their story, the more it's going to help the community. And as someone who has come forward publicly, I also want people to know that attorneys like Jeff will work with people if they would like to remain as a John or a Jane Doe. So that's also an option for folks.
If I could just add one thing real quick. I'll give you an example of one name that was not on the list, and that was Timothy Brennan. He's right over there. His picture's right over there. He is a religious order priest. Religious order priest. He was ordained, but prior to his being ordained a priest, he was a Benedictine monk. He was not on the list because most of his abuse occurred at Del Barton, and that is of a public nature because there were lawsuits filed against Brennan publicly. However, there's been at least one public lawsuit filed against Timothy Brennan where he abused at St. Elizabeth's in Linden. That is a Newark Archdiocesan parish. Now, if he abused at a Newark Archdiocesan parish, why was he not? And this was a public lawsuit. Why was he not on Newark Archdiocesan's list? This is just one example, and that's what we're trying to get out.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you to all you survivors and survivor advocates. And More to be revealed, but positive action today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.